Have you ever been promoted to a manager role and out of a sudden your team is messaging you on a Sunday night like it's a normal Tuesday? If somehow your calendar now is creeping with meetings into evenings or sometimes calls or messages or DMs in the weekends, this video is for you because here is the thing. The boundaries that you do not set, they become your team's expectation. So for the next couple minutes, I want to give you a simple tool that you can use this week, which is 2 boundaries and 1 team agreement. So you can stay being a supportive leader, but without becoming the emergency hotline for the team. Hi everyone, I'm Silvia, your inclusive leadership mentor. And today we're gonna have a topic around boundaries in this week's Lead Nudge. Let me start by sharing a bit of a story. Because when I stepped into a manager role, in one of my first manager roles, I noticed that something happened that I was really not expecting. I started getting calls from my teams on the weekends, and at first it was just once, right? And it was okay. But then it became a thing every Saturday or every Sunday, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. on a Sunday night, and sometimes even later. Please take into account that I'm talking something in retail industry. So before you come at me, my team was actually at the store and they had a rotation in the evening shift. But my schedule was an office schedule. So I was usually, I used to work on Saturdays, but my schedule was done at 6:30, sometimes, 6:30, 6:45. And I will be honest, at the beginning, it felt good. It felt like, okay, my team trusts me. Like, wow, they're coming at me, even if they're coming to me, if they're struggling with a situation that feels urgent, even though they had somebody, a manager with authority to make decisions, they come to me because they want me, they need me, they trust me. But then the reality kicked in because I noticed that 2 things started to happening at the same time. Number 1, I noticed that my nervous system was really never switched off. First, it was just sometimes, but then when I was not working, a part of me was always on call, was always ready to pick up. And I had, during dinner with my folks, with my parents, or during the date, I had my work phone next to me. And also my team wasn't building their own confidence to solve problems without me. They were learning that when things get hard, they call Silvia. No, when things get hard, we have our process to solve things. So that for me was a big lesson into leadership, because being supportive doesn't mean being available 24/7. And supportive leadership is also about building a team that can operate without you. This is why boundaries matter so much, because when you're in a new role, it might feel good to be the one supporting and helping your team. But when your team is watching what I call the unwritten rules, they're not caring about the company policies or the slide deck. They get to watch what's the behavior that gets rewarded. What is the behavior that we repeat as managers? And when we respond instantly at 9 p.m. and our team, what they assume is that they should also be available at 9 p.m., right? And that when work emergencies, they also belong like at all times, that urgency becomes part of the team culture, right? So when boundaries are not addressed, when we don't talk about them, what happens is that they become the reality, right? Our team members, they end up having overwork, and that builds not only resentment, right? But also, it builds up to burnout, right? And for me, this is about the role of building and protecting performance, but also the well-being of ourselves and our team members. So with that, let's make this practical, as I promised. And I want you to think about the last time that you show up in your week with maybe a late message, maybe a weekend call, a DM, or maybe even getting up in the meeting during a lunch break. And this is the perfect place to start. Just think about that. And we're gonna talk about the tool that's 2 boundaries in 1 team agreement. Step number 1, choose 2 boundaries that you want to model as per this week. And I'm not talking about a list, I'm not talking about 5, not 10, really just 2. And let's make them realistic, right? Let's make them realistic, but also visible to the team. Here are some examples that I gave it a thought, but that doesn't mean that you need to pick exactly these ones. This could look like, we're not gonna take weekend messages unless it's urgent, or no meetings during this hour focus block, or I am not gonna schedule internal meetings over lunch. So it's up to you. Choose the ones that you want to start working immediately and the ones that will reduce pressure for you. Step number 2, let's tie or let's connect each of these boundaries, the ones that you pick, with the why in 1 sentence. This is important because boundaries land better when they are explained, because otherwise they become a bit of an authority, right? And we want to be able to influence our team. And that 1 sentence might look like, hi team, I'm protecting focus time so I can do my best work during working hours. Or I want us to build a team that's sustainable and that is not constantly in emergency mode. Those are just 2 examples. You can give it a thought and see what works for you. The point here is that it doesn't become a rule, it's explained, and with transparency, we share that with our team. And then step 3, it's time to co-create 1 team agreement. And it becomes less personal. It's not about me and my boundaries as a leader. It's us setting up a team culture. So what you can do is that you can ask your team, what's about 1 boundary that would help us collaborate better and protect our energy? And you can pick 1, right? You can have a bit of a brainstorm and you can pick 1. And then here is the most important one. You can document that in your working agreements. That can be in your Notion team page, and every 4 to 5 weeks you can revisit and see if actually how we're going as a team. And some examples of these team agreements might look like, we don't schedule internal team meetings over lunch, or we don't set up calls in the last 2 hours of a Friday, or we avoid sending non-urgent messages after 6 p.m. Now, when you can give it a thought, these are just examples that I am putting here to inspire you. Now, when we set up boundaries without empowering our team, it might feel like abandonment, and we don't want that, right? Because boundaries plus a process, that equals confidence, not only for us, but for our teams as well. So when we share a boundary, let's make sure that we add a process to go with it. As an example, this could be, if I'm online, this is the process that we can follow as a team. Let's check what our FAQ document says. Let's ask in the team channel, in the Slack team channel. And if it's a client impacting question and needs answer in an hour, let's escalate to this person. And if none of that works, and maybe you as a manager are on holidays, then this is my phone number. You can text me urgent. Now, what happens is that a common pitfall when we are setting boundaries is that we end up breaking them ourselves. So if we say we don't work on the weekends, but you send a message on a Sunday afternoon, checking in about an update that you want to know, your team learns that even though there is a written policy, we always work on the weekends because that's what we do. So I want to highlight that modeling matters more than what's written in a policy. This is really, really important, because if we as leaders are going to set up a boundary, let's protect that as part of our leadership role, because that's the role, that is the job. So here are 2 reflections for you today. You can hopefully get this going later on. What is 1 boundary that would help me lead with more calmness and less sense of urgency all the time? Or this is about you, and then another for your team. What boundary might feel that your team needs, even if they have not asked for it directly? Because sometimes your team is not asking for boundaries because they're gonna adapt to whatever you model, right? You're their leader, they're gonna adapt to that behavior. You get to lead the way. If this was helpful, share it either with a new manager or with your friend that wants to aspire to get into a leadership role. Especially if this is someone who's trying to be the supportive one, but accidentally became available 24/7 out of a sudden. And I would love to hear from you. What's one boundary that you want to set with your team this month? Remember to lead as you are with courage, inclusion, and heart, you all.